Hello and welcome once again to Darth Grumpy. Wow, if I could speak English fluently, it'd be really awesome. Welcome to Darth Grumpy Dad Twitch stream. All right, so I just got done doing and posting an incredibly subpar and pathetic, absolutely pathetic, how-to on the Remnant of a Thousand Storm build for the monk. Now I'm going to do something I'm far more familiar with, the Patterns of Justice build. Dun dun dun. I don't think I've transmuted the boots on here. Must look proper. Must. Boom. There we go. All right. Why do you have no spirit? There we go. Now, there is a push build for this, which we will go to leaderboards, Greater Rifts, the Monk, Patterns of Justice. What is it only on? There we go. Mama's. Okay, whatever. This guy is pushed to 119 with this. And as you can see, use Azareth. Ooh, nice primal Wu Kim Lao. Use Azareth and Wu Kim Lao because Azareth comes with 20% cold skill damage. And the build centers around cold damage. So on your suit, oh my god, what is this? What is, oh, see now they don't have cold damage on their squirts though. And they don't have the other crit. Not a very good squirts at all. Yeah. Anyways, there you can see 6% crit hit chance, 20% cold skill damage. Now you have 25% lightning skill, which doesn't do anything good for the build, but you have convention of elements, so when the lightning cycle comes around, you do get some extra damage out of it on that, and you get a big damage bonus on your cold cycle when it comes around. Squirts. And on this build, I'm not going to be using squirts. Oh, and the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. Right? When you hit with the spender, it takes a second off one of your cooldowns. And this is built behind Tempest Rush, and Tempest Rush is most definitely a spender. Right? So, and newer to it, oh, they're running with the Guardian set instead of the Captain set. I don't know how that's running. It probably runs all right. Basically, the Guardians, what happens, oops, go back here. Let's see, all the dexterity that he has, that comes on the build, right? The base, that 900 dexterity doubles. So you're basically doubling the amount of your dexterity, which doubles your damage with the Guardian set. That's why he has the Guardian set and the Guardian's case. Dying. I guess that's alright. But he's not, oh yeah, he's not running Captain, so it's no big deal. Well, in that case, you should not have the Obsidian on. That should be in the cube instead of Ring of Grandeur. Because then you could get extra crit and crit dam off the Ring of Grandeur that you're not getting on the Obsidian. Probably just hasn't got a good one yet. So, and generally, I don't know why he's... I think he's putting the extra dex on to try and increase the damage of the Guardian set. That's good. He's got crit hit, crit dam. Yeah, that all looks pretty good. So, they pushed you 123. Azareth, that's your push build. This is not really the push build. This is more for casual players and for farming. So this is going to be a starter build, and you would work your way up to that. So you use Wu Kim Lao, and it doesn't matter what sanctifier power it is. And you just drop one of your crucibles on that, and then Vengeful Wind is the other There we go. And then Vengeful Wind. Now, Vengeful Wind increases the maximum stacks count of Sweeping Wind by 10. So that gives you 13 maximum stacks, right? And it doesn't say it on there for some reason, but you... Oh. And then in the cube, instead of Mantles of Channeling, I've got Cure Cheryl's Soul. Sweeping Wind gains 2 stacks every second. It does not deal damage to any enemies. Now, Sweeping Wind, the stacks get built when you do crit hit damage. Basically, the way this works, those two together, my Sweeping Wind is at 13 all the time. 2 set bonus of Patterns of Justice. Sweeping Wind gains the effect of every rune, right? And movement speed is increased by 5% for each stack of Sweeping Wind. So, yeah, you move around really quickly. It's a really fast, smooth build for farming. Gems I have on this, I have Bane of the Stricken. I have Bane of the Trapped. Now, of course, Bane of the Stricken, each attack you make against an enemy increases the damage it takes from your attacks by 1.65% at rank 85. Then I have Bane of the Trapped. Gain an aura that reduces... No, actually, the initial, that's at 25 you get that. The initial Bane of the Trapped effect is increased damage against enemies under the effects of control impairing effects by 40%. So it's 40% extra damage. And then at rank 25, you get gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards. So it creates its own mind controlling effect, right? It creates its own crowd control effect, CC. So you have 100% uptime on that 40% damage. You just increase 40% increased damage. All right. And then third gem you use is Taeguk, because you're using Sweeping Wind, and Sweeping Wind is a channeling skill, and Taeguk is for channeling skills. Gain 4.5% increased damage for 1.5 seconds. When you spend resource on a channeling skill, this effect stacks up to 10 times. So it's 50% damage. Right? Reduce the remaining cool. No. And then secondary at 25 on this, you gain 2% increased armor for every stack. So you get 20% armor out of the gem also. And then the bringing the obsidian skill is reduce the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second when you hit with a resource spending attack, which is Tempest Rush. Now, how I have this set up on the skills on the A button, I have Blinding Flash, Self-Reflection, right? So Blinding Flash, create a flash of light that blinds all enemies within 20 yards for 3 seconds. Elite enemies recover faster, but suffer 30% chance to miss with attacks. As Self-Reflection is the first rune, increase the duration enemies are blinded to 6 seconds. That's on my A button, right? And I just hold it down all the time, so every time that skill's ready, it pops again. You'll see here. Bing! On my right trigger, I have Tempest Rush. Charge directly through your enemies, dealing 390% weapon damage while running. I have the third rune, Flurry. After you stop channeling Tempest Rush, you cause an icy blast to all enemies within 15 yards. The damage of the explosion increases by 90% weapon damage as cold damage while channeling. Tempest Rush damage is turned to cold. So as long as I'm channeling, you can see over there, there's where the broken bone is. You see that counter going up? That's that cold damage, that blast charging up. And charges to 100. When I let off, see that little psst, that does that 100% damage, right? Next skill, on my X, right next to my A button, so I'm holding A and X down all the time. Epiphany. Have an epiphany increases your spirit regeneration per second by 20 and enables your melee attacks to instantly dash to their targets. That's actually, you don't use that because you're not using any melee attacks, so that doesn't actually work. And then I have Desert Shroud, infuse yourself with sand, reducing damage taken by 50%. So it's a damage reducer. It helps me generate spirit, and it's a damage reducer. Although the build really doesn't need it because that aspect, because the 4-set bonus. Attacking with Tempest Rush reduces your damage taken by 50% and increases spirit regeneration by 50%. So between that and Epiphany, now we're looking at 100% damage reduction. Pretty good. All right, now your 6-piece. Hitting with Tempest Rush while Sweeping Wind is active, which is why you have Sweeping Wind, increases the size of Sweeping Wind and also increases all damage dealt by 15,000%. So when you hit with Tempest Rush while Sweeping Wind is on, you're getting 15,000% increased damage to your Sweeping Wind, to the Flurry Explosion, right, to your Tempest Rush attack. Any damage you're creating gets increased by 15,000. It's all damage creators. Now here on this one, you see on this Mirrors of Justice, I have both reduced cooldown and reduced resource cost because of my Captain Crimson set. Now, I have the Ring Royal Grandeur in there, so I get the 3-set bonus by having 2 pieces on. I have the belt and the boots on. 2-set bonus, 6,000 life per second, reduces cooldowns of all skills by 20%, reduces all resource costs by 20%. The 3-set bonus. Damage dealt is increased by your percentage of cooldown reduction. Damage taken is reduced by your percentage of cost reduction. So all my resource reduction and all my cooldown reduction becomes damage and damage reduction for myself, right? Increases my output, decreases my intake of damage. Right, so next skill, of course, Sweeping Wind on the Y, because it's hit it and forget it. Once it's on, it's on. It doesn't go away, thanks to Kirashiro's Soul, which is a belt, by the way, in the cube. Right? Surround yourself with a vortex that continuously deals 105% weapon damage to all enemies, which, gets multiplied by 15,000 when you're hitting with Tempest Rush. So you're getting a huge damage boost just from that, right? To all enemies within 10 yards. And the size, thanks to POJ, goes out like 25 yards. The vortex lasts 6 seconds and is refreshed each time you strike an enemy with a melee attack. Landing a critical hit has a chance to increase the vortex effect up to 3 stacks for a total of 350% weapon damage. Now we're doing 13, right? Because of our Vengeful Wind, we're actually getting 13 stacks, right? Times that 16,000 damage. So the Sweeping Wind itself is doing a fair amount of damage for T16, right? You get up in higher GRs, it's not really doing that much damage. And then I have the first rune, Master of Winds, right? There we go. While your vortex is at 3 or more stacks, enemies damaged by Sweeping Wind for 3 consecutive seconds are frozen for 2 seconds. Enemies cannot be frozen by Sweeping Wind more than once every 3 seconds. Sweeping Wind's damage is turned into cold. Okay. So now you see it's a cold build. All your damage is around cold, except for the lightning damage on your Wu Kim Lao, which is super disappointing. Like, it would be so awesome if that was 25% cold, if you could roll that. But you can't change either one of those damages, right? I think I already rolled 10% damage on that. So let me grab one. Pretty sure I probably have one of these. I've been clearing out my stash, so I might not. Nope, I got Vengeful Wind, but I don't have Swift Wind. But I don't believe you can change the lightning damage with the lightning skill damage, right? You can't. You just can't roll it off for anything else, which would be nice because you could roll that cold damage. I'll see. The next one, if one will probably drop while we're doing this. Because this Wu Kim Lao is a pretty common drop. Reset all my Paragon. So you can see it's a T16 build. Like, I should probably... I usually do these with just my gems rank at 25, but I'm not taking the time to just have those extra gems at 25. It's annoying. Oh, and finally on your RB button, right? Again, a hit it and forget it button. Mantra of Salvation. You and your allies get an additional 20% increased resistance to all elements for 3 seconds whenever you bump the RB button, right? Costs 50 spirit though, so it's expensive, right? Mantra of Salvation also increases dodge chance by 35%. So dodge is pretty high. Now generally on your passives, having Guardians is a good idea because you're two-handed and it increases your dodge by 35% dual wielding. And this build is pretty solid though. It's fairly tanky for T16, so you don't really need it for just T16. And I have Determination. Each enemy within 12 yards increases your damage by 4% up to 20%. Relentless Assault, you deal 20% more damage to enemies that are blind or frozen. Now thanks to your Blinding Flash and all the cold damage of your Sweeping Wind and whatnot, guys are frozen or blind all the time. So you're getting a lot of use out of that extra 20% damage. Then Beacon of Ykar, reduce all cooldowns by 20%. And then I usually run Momentum. Moving 25 yards increases your damage by 20% for 6 seconds. And with this build, you're always moving. You're doing Tempest Rush, so you're always moving, so you're always getting that 20%, right? Just laying it on there. So now, again, on your Bracer, you want as close to 6% critical hit chance as possible, and you want cold damage, 20% if possible. This has only got 18 in it, but pretty good. And it's got decent dexterity, and it's got resist all elements, right? And your Caesar's Memento, enemies take an extra 770%. I think it goes up to 800. Increased damage from your Tempest Rush for 5 seconds after you hit them with Blind, Freeze, or Stun. So, again, a bunch of extra damage. You know, Wu Kim Lao itself, right? Hitting with Tempest Rush activates Cyclone Strike, and both skills deals 600% extra increased damage. So you don't really have Cyclone Strike as a skill. You would have to have it on and hit it once in a while to proc it to get that extra damage, a Cyclone Strike. But you get the 600% increased damage. And it sucks guys into it, keeps monsters sucked into a tight group for you, right? And it's something I like if I can. Like I'll do a Sweeping Wind build with Innas. So use that Wu Kim Lao to automatically cause Cyclone Strike to hit, because Cyclone Strike gives you a big damage bonus to your Mystic allies. And it's an alright build. It's not, I mean, like I said, it's alright. You know, you can mix in 2 or 3 pieces of POJ into it, but then you can't run your main weapon in your weapon slot, right? You'd have to put Wu Kim Lao in the weapon slot in the cube, and it's kind of smooth, but it's just not as good. It's not as good as just running it, say, with 3 pieces of Ramney, which I will probably do a tutorial on that too. But here we go. No Paragon. T16, right? Yeah, T16. Nephilim Rift. Hold the trigger, hold the A and the X. Right, that's all you do. And as you can see, even without, this is a far better build than that. See, you just, stuff just dies. It just dies. You run around it, whack it a couple times, it dies. It's a way better build than Storm. And then you got your Dashing Strike. You got 3 of those, which does do damage. There's your little tornadoes. Oh. Epiphany must have went down. This build isn't really, when you first get it, it's not really, it's not an in-your-face build. Oh, that cool damage screwed me. Little squishy. You can increase that if you want by putting, let that build up. There we go. Mantles of Channeling in the cube or Aquila Cuirass, because you're always over 90, almost always over 90% spirit. So you have 100% uptime on the damage reduction of Aquila Cuirass. But I want the sweeping wind damage, the extra sweeping wind damage and speed bonus for doing my T16 farming. So if you have this build and no paragons, and even with like the gems just at 25, it's a pretty solid build. And as usual, anyone who's watched these knows how I build the follower, Broken Crown, Flavor of Time, Nemesis Bracers, Oculus Ring, Ring of Grandeur, Sage's Passage, Sage's Journey, Sage's Passage, Cain's Habit, Cain's Scribe, whatever the best arrow shooter you can get is, best bow. Spalders is Zachara, so your gear becomes indestructible, you're not repairing it all the time. Goldskin, Crippling Shot, Anatomy, which increases your crit hit chance, Multi-Shot, and then Knight's Veil, which again increases your crit hit chance. Every time he drops one of those little circles on the ground. This is one of those builds where I wish they had like a specific necklace or something to give you 7 items you could use in the build. So you can mix one of the other monk builds in a little better, get a little extra out of it. I think it could be achieved if they made the Wu Kim Lao just a POJ, part of the POJ build, make it part of the set. Fucking ground damage. As you can see, this is a, if you watched my failed video, the earlier one, on the Ramnius build, this is a far more solid build. So I understand the Ramnius is the build you get, it's the gift. Keep your eyes out for the POJ stuff, because it really is a superior build. I need to get a Rabid Strike. Man, I put a bunch of those in the garbage because I wasn't planning on doing the Wave of Light build. but I would like to do it to just to have it show you in comparison to the Ramniance build to see, because LOD builds are incredibly powerful early on in the game because every piece is legendary, so you get that. Like even at low, like only rank 9 on the LOD, you get a whole bunch of extra damage for each legendary piece in the build, right? So as you don't have any green items, you get like 30% increased damage per legendary item. So it's like 300% increased damage. Build up that. Oh, and I don't, probably not seen it happen, but one of the ways is, let's see if I can find some more guys here, like another E-Pack. Ooh, legendary. Go to the next floor, see if I can find an E-Pack. So you get that E-Pack, you get them all hit. Oops. Doing a bunch of extra damage from the pylons right now. Let's... Come on. Oh. I had to let up on the Tempest Rush to open that door. Wasted my flurry. There we go, and then I, boom, see? I let off on the Tempest Rush, and that flurry explosion just killed that whole mob in one shot. And I done the same thing, I don't know if you noticed or not, with the Rift Guardian. When it dropped, I got it about halfway down, and then I let off on the Tempest Rush, and it just died. Its health bar disappeared. So it's a pretty solid build. Let's go back to town and close this. And I'll go do a act boss. Let's see. Good one shot. We'll just go skeletons quick. We can get there quick. And usually on this too, I do a boon of the hoarder. So I get like everything I kill gets a huge pile of gold drops from it, and you get a speed boost every time you pick up gold from that. So it makes the speedy build even more speedy. Oh my! It's weird. See, boom, just died when I let off on that. And I have beaten boss mode with this build. It's fast enough to kill the 20 bosses in 20 minutes. Especially when you have like Boon of the Hoarder, and you only do it on T10. Keep running around and charge that flurry up. He comes down and... Whoops, I missed him with it. How'd I do that? There. It's really... And once you get Paragon in, it's even more solid. Oh, shush. I cannot afford that. Oops. And really, you only need like 25, 26 in this because you're sweeping wind all the time, but I usually just put 50 in. Whoops. Keep going here. Usually go at about 200. Yes, give yourself a little bit more survivability. And then everything else in dexterity, because the extra dexterity becomes armor and your main damage creator. Well, you didn't drop any pretties. Or you didn't already pick them up. So, I get, getting upset. I need rabid strike so I can put the wave of light build together, and it's not dropping for me now. Just because I want to build the build, so it won't drop. I got everything else. General suggestion: make a level 1 monk, start adventure mode on T16, and craft seven of these, your rare double. If you craft 7 of those and upgrade them all to legendary at the cube, you will get your balance for the cube here. You will get the flying dragon for your cube. Here, I'll show you the flying dragon, which you usually use on the Ramniet build. And you will get your instant torch of the Grand Temple, which reduces spirit cost of Wave of Light, so it's for your Wave of Light builds. The rest of these drop pretty consistently, and Furnace is a good one for some builds. Increased damage against elites by 50%. So it's good if you're building a Rift Guardian killer to have in there. Eventually we'll end up at this, just because I had an extra one and I dropped it in here. But it really, you really have to have balance, right? This damage of Tempest Rush is increased by 600% when Tempest Rush hits 3 or fewer enemies, right? And it gains 100% crit hit chance when you're just hitting one guy, which is really important when there's only one guy on the screen, like say the Guardian, right? When it's just one guy, you need that extra 600% and that 100% crit hit chance to get the guy down, to get him walloped, especially when you let off on, right? Especially when you let off on that flurry. So again, skills: A, blinding flash, self-reflection; right trigger, Tempest Rush flurry; X, epiphany, desert shroud; Y, sweeping wind, master of winds; B, dashing strike, quicksilver. And on that, really, I just prefer that because you get 3 charges. Most people do blinding speed, gain 30%, increased chance to dodge for 4 seconds after using dashing strike. Strike's damage turns into cold, which, kind of more of a, but I like having the 3 charges, right? I'm whiny about it. I like having the three dashing strikes because I'm more use this for speed farming, and the extra dashing strike comes in more handy, right? And then on RB, your Y and your RB are hit 'em and forget 'em buttons. Once you hit them, they're going. You only have to hit Y when you go into a brand new Greater Rift, right? Or you just start. After you hit it, it's going. It's on all the time. Same with RB, unless you want that extra dodge chance from RB, right? Resistances and dodge chance. Passives: determination, relentless assault, beacon of Ethar, and momentum. In the cube, you want balance, Kirishiro Soul, and Ring of Royal Grandeur. And this is a phenomenal T16 If you're doing bounties, it gets them done pretty freaking quick. I mean, and it's smooth because you can stop, hit a chest, get stuff out, and start moving again, right? And every time, if you stop and there's other monsters around, when you stop to do that, the flurry takes everyone out. And really, you don't have to, you can just run like this and hit the A button to pick shit up once you let off. As long as you keep moving, right, you're getting defensive bonuses. So, what do we pick up here? Oh, Angelic Crucible. There we go. There we go. All right. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Darth Grumpy Dad. If you found this useful, please follow me here at Darth Grumpy Dad at Twitch. Jump on over to YouTube. Also, Darth Grumpy Dad, there's a link in the description to my YouTube page. And subscribe there. The videos here are only up for 2 weeks, and they're up at YouTube pretty much forever. All right, have a good evening.